So I'd like to know how long you kind of spent developing this, because just the amount of what is shot in it is just completely amazing to me.
Well, thank you, Tim. And the secret screening of Assholes in 2017, I've told you this a million times, but I'll tell you publicly, our best screening. So fun. Yeah, this script was with me for a long time. I thought this was going to be something I made before Assholes, and started writing it in late 2013 when I was like an outsider to internet culture. And then, you know, a lot of other things happened, but, you know, it wrote it so many times. And yeah, the long gestating process is part of what made it what it is. What was the question? All right, yeah. That should do, right? I mean, give a round of applause for Betsey Brown. Another.
Betsey, you said a lot of times over your career that you like to be scared, essentially, when you see a script, when you want to do something that kind of freaks you out a little bit. So, I mean, obviously you two have a unique relationship. For those of you who don't know, they're brother and sister. This is really, and of course your parents are in the film. This is all on Google. When you read this script, when Peter's working through the script and you finally sat down and looked at it, what was the moment in the movie, I think, that made you go, oh, this is where I want to take the leap?
Yes, I like to, my mantra for my art is run into your fears for the sake of art. So I like that. I like being freaked out by what's on the page. I mean, taking the leap, I feel like the whole thing was a leap for me. I really didn't even do much prep. I didn't realize, like, every scene that I read on the page seemed so much less intense than what it actually was supposed to be. So that was a shock. The whole thing was a shock, I think. But really, the green room scenes were like those were the scariest and the ones I did not want to think about ever.
I'll let you guys get the mic. I don't want to open
Bad
up
idea.
But in 1 second, I want to open the audience for questions. But can I have one more for Peter, one more for Betsey? And this movie, it's so now that it could be tomorrow. Like in terms of what all, and realistically, you finished the movie last year. It world premiered, I think, in San Francisco Jewish, which begs the question of what they're thinking. But just literally in the last like 4 months, this movie is weirdly fucking prescient. Like, so I've got to wonder, like, just, you know, over the decade, really, we kind of were working on it. Like, watching it today versus watching it 12 months ago, is the movie changing for you?
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I was doing on set in 2022 was trying to act as like a conduit medium between myself and my internet feed. So I was in many moments just feeding people lines that were things I read on Twitter, or trying to include images or ideas that I saw. And I think, you know, I think that's why you might have that feeling, because, you know, when you look at niche memetics in like 2022, a lot of those come to fruition in like a more mainstream feeling way, like a couple years later. Or at least that's what I hope.
So Betsey, obviously one of the most unique things about this performance is Rachel's voice. And I need to know where that came from you, and also how sort of it was to maintain that over the course of filming.
It wasn't hard at all. I love doing this voice all the time.
It's a voice that is a self-soothing voice for me. So I was using it a lot. I was very alone during pre-production, and the only like consistent companion was my dog, so that's very much like Horsebiga, my best friend, and I just talked to my dog in that voice, so it felt like an easy thing to bring into the Rachel world, the world of Nah.
Did you give Betsey kind of free reign to do what she wanted there, or did you have specific notes?
All I said was I think Rachel should speak with a voice that isn't yours, but I didn't say anything more than that. We do a lot of takes on set, but I'm not necessarily saying a lot. I just have, Betsey is one of a kind, and you know, the more that she experiments, the deeper the character always gets, and you know, I didn't say much, did I? Not really.
All right, shout him out. Right here.
Emma James.
It's just absolutely genius the way you used the internet meme culture and language to tell this very profoundly sad story of the struggle for human connection in these times, and especially on the internet. What brought that deeper aspect to the film? What gave you the idea to really tell that story?
Betsey gives the depth. I mean, I think the performance is what gives it depth. Yeah, and I wrote the script from a place of profound loneliness, where I really was that character, not exactly, because it's heightened. Johnny?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Thank you so much, Emma, for saying that. Next question?
Yeah. All right, yeah, Christine.
So first of all, for the performance, 10 out of 10 for real.
Yeah.
And the question I had is, how much of like what you did throughout the movie was actually verbatim from the script, and how much of it was just improvisation from your part?
We did a lot of improv on set. There was a lot of the language that Rachel uses, I sort of formed through a lot of work. Many takes. We did, the way Peter works is just like 30 or so 30 or above takes for most scenes. So yeah, I was finding her voice throughout the shoot, and I feel like I could, by the end, and it took a couple days to get us on the same page. I think it was 3 days. I think, yeah. But then, it was,
Next question.
Right out here.
Speaking to that, if you develop your character through that, did you shoot chronologically?
It's so hard to do that. Yeah, we couldn't do it, no.
The first scene that we shot was the scene where Rachel wakes up in the really small room and she sees the Ormonds, who are actually our parents. Yeah. And they're so great in the movie. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud. Almost got one of the biggest laughs of the night. I'm so proud of her.
Right here.
Yeah, the movie was great. That was fun. How did you film the New York scenes? You just really just went out there, right?
That was Tim's question too.
Well, I know how assholes was shot. So.
We employed similar techniques. Betsey was we shot it like a documentary as much as we could. So we're not making ourselves known at all. We're huddled by a monitor somewhere as far away from her as we could possibly be. And not, all the interactions with the bystanders is just, they think she's just surreal.
It's New York.
It's New York.
It's New York,
Everyone's
yeah.
comfortable with it. Everyone is comfortable with it. Everyone is comfortable with it.
So that brings me to a question inside the New York scene, which is definitely got a subway scene that rivals like Possession.
Oh yeah.
But the guy who walks by and drops the line.
Just no, that's I mean we owe our life to him. I mean that's just the magic. Yeah, such a great guy.
That was the answer to that.
Of course, you know, you couldn't write that. I couldn't write that.
Yeah. Are there questions in the audience? Yeah, way in the back.
I was thinking the whole time, like, I love you guys so much. Like, this whole thing is kind of like my brain onto like, in the theater, like dead ass. So like that's pretty sick. But yeah, my real question was just a weird question. Who's like the big dick guy, and like where can I find him? Like,
The guy with the big dick? You mean the actor who gets fellatio? Oh yeah, that's a pornographic actor named Cold Church. So if you Google him, and you know he does a lot of guy and girl scenes. So pansexual king right there. Yeah, sign up to his OnlyFans. Let's go, Cold Church.
Yeah.
How did you get James from Love on the Spectrum?
We got lucky. You know, I wasn't even familiar with the show at the time, and he wasn't as big a celebrity as he is now. He's massive, but our casting director, Damien Bao, I told him I was looking for types like that, and he said to me, James, and I went, oh my God, he's so good, and he auditioned. And James is one of Betsey's amazing, but I will say it, James is also one of the best actors I've ever worked with. He doesn't miss. He's like a true star, actually. And then we got lucky that he blew off. Like, it seems like such good planning on our part, but it was just a happy accident. Any other question?
Sure, we'll try to repeat it. It's harder to hear in the back than the front.
I just want to say it was really evocative and made me want to throw my phone away because I recognize it like so much. I guess, given the nature of it, what do you hope it's looked back on as?
You want to kind of incorporate the question back?
This gentleman in the front wants to know what I hope the film is looked back on as. I'd say I hope it's looked back on as the greatest work of art of all time.
Yes, how did you get Yarvin? And what is your process for casting extras? Because you had like great extras.
Thank you so much. I love the extras, and they continue to ruin my life. So with Yarvin, I'm not familiar with his work, but he's like a right-wing blogger that is much adored and much detested. But he's very much a part of this like shitpost, you know, right-wing adjacent sort of edgelord culture that I knew I wanted to in some way depict. And you know what's so funny? We both dated the same girl. Not in at all the same time proximity, but a friend of mine who I used to, you know, ages ago was like, you should meet my friend Curtis. I was like, whoa, Mencius Molbug, that guy who's like seen as this like very, you know, this dark enlightenment, very polarizing figure. So I met up with him, had a beer, and then when the movie was coming, I was like, oh, you know, we were trying to cast this wide net to get real figures in there that would really evoke the corner of the internet we were trying to evoke. So I was like, shit, I gotta get Yarvin in there. And he said yes, and it was, he actually has some great lines that didn't make it in, some very funny lines. And then, but your second question is, I'd like to also answer. So, you know, and for the aspiring filmmakers in the audience, this is really important because I failed at making this a bunch of times in 2015, and then I tried again in 2020, I think, and failed miserably every time. But it's so good that I did, because in 2022 was the perfect moment, even though for me it felt too late, and I was in so much agony about not getting made. And this answers your question. Because, you know, think about it. In 2022, everyone had just been in COVID. People, chronically online-ism had just become almost gone mainstream. People were so with themselves, with meme culture for the first time. In no other moment that I tried to make that was that reality true. So when we cast this net, and I posted about it, and Dasha posted about it, and the I Unpack, my producers that are like podcasters posted about it, we got all these people who were there to exercise these like internet, like meme culture demons. And in no other moment could we ever have found people like that, and I don't even think we would now. So, like, you gotta trust the timing with your stuff, even if it's taking forever. And that's how we got those people. And we were lucky. Like I was hoping that we would get interesting people, but what we got far exceeded my expectations. And yes, I got my friend Honor. If you notice, like Honor Levy, the famous writers in the audience, I tried to populate it with Mike Crumplar, the Substacker, with as many people that I knew, but the people that really were the unsung the heroes were the people that just came of their own accord.
So before we go to you, I want to get a question in too, really quick while I'm thinking about it. Hopefully I won't steal your thunder. But when I look at the movie, because it's so anarchic, because it's so chaotic, and it really is kind of built of this hyper-realistic world that we sort of live in on the internet, where everything's a meme in like 2.6 seconds after it happens in the real world. But when I watch the movie, I can still see like ingrained pieces of like film history in there. Like I can see elements that feel like Brazil, or feel like a John Marsugo film, or like I'm just curious about any inspirations you brought into it to kind of execute.
That's really nice. Thank you for saying that. I think my inspirations do come a lot from post-internet art and meme culture, but the fact of being in theater, that is such an ancient location, and it just by virtue of that will invoke all those classic works. It's like when you're shining a single light on a face, it might seem like Joan of Arc, like the breath, like dry or whatever.
There's shots of Betsey in the movie, and when the religious iconography to Mary appears later, you felt it earlier in those shots that are just kind of down on Betsey's head.
But it's like it's all sort of just this like accidental and kind of good luck. Like we weren't consciously referencing any of that. We looked at movies that used the stage, like All That Jazz and Cabaret, but we didn't have, we're just lucky, And the Catholic stuff, that was very specific to the moment. In 2022 was like the peak of the whole like tradcath or like e-girl tradcath revivalism. Based tradcath e-girl. Post-woke based tradcath e-girl. Dasha Nekrasova core. Coquette. Shit poster. Real words. They're real words, bro. Look it up. Urban Dictionary, bro. Urban Dictionary, bro.
So I was really astounded because seeing it all on screen, I like it just clicks for me, and it's such a wonderful vision. But something that kind of I was wondering then as a process is, how exactly does like scripting something like this or storyboarding something, how do you plan out something where it seems like there's so many moving parts, like when you have these sort of just collages of sights and sounds? What is the planning of that like? Or is that some of that just found along the way?
A movie like this is planned very rigorously. The script was written 60 times, and in the process became very detailed. And scheduling is 90% of directing. Truly, let that sink in. But I say that because then you have the freedom and the time to be very experimental. So all that being said, I would also go way off track with experimentation on set. But you can't arrive at that level of freedom without so much planning beforehand. That's my feeling. And I'm right.
One back here.
You brought up the voice on the performance, and I was more curious about like everything else you're doing with your body and the way the camera is interacting with you in the environment.